Hello, and welcome to our chat with our spy master, Graham Fuller, who, as a former vice chairman of the CIA's National Intelligence Council and a U.S. Foreign Service veteran, was required to do more than just get by in many foreign languages. Having become an expert in the process of acquiring languages, he has passed on his best tips and techniques in the continuing bestseller, Secrets of Learning a Foreign Language. Here, Graham shares many of his insights to help you with your language learning adventure.
Well, Graham, when we last met and talked, you had like 13 different languages that you'd learned, and just wondering if you learned any more since then.
Well, I've worked on a number of languages off and on since then. I should also mention that I think when you talk about learning, there are many, many different levels at which one can learn something. So I wouldn't be so presumptuous to say that, I've learned several more languages, but I've looked at, studied some to a greater or lesser degree, some enough to get by in one or another country, but there's no single standard for what it means to learn it.
Sure. Well, are you still traveling like you used to?
Yes, a great deal of travel.
Really?
Middle East and Asia particularly.
Right. Well, I don't suppose you become fluent in any of these other languages, but if you have, well, I'd love to hear how you did it.
When you study a foreign language, there's also the problem of maintenance. In other words, if you don't keep these skills up, they can tend to get rusty. I'm sure everyone's heard about languages getting rusty.
Absolutely.
So there are a number of languages that I've used quite extensively, like Chinese. I used very intensively for 6 years or so, and then kind of moved away from it and was in other parts of the world and doing different things, so that tended to recede somewhat. And then I went back to China and got out my books and managed to, fairly quickly get up to speed again. But it's the sort of you've got to keep these things maintained.
Sure, I understand that.
So the number of the languages that are, let's say, on the on your desktop at any one time of active use depends really a lot on what you're doing and what your tasks are.
Well, have you thought of any other new ideas on how to learn a foreign language since you wrote the book?
Well, I'm impressed that you really have to have some good materials, and especially materials to listen to. The interaction between the learner and the language medium that you're using, especially tapes or CDs or whatever, is really extremely critical. You have to. What you're in effect trying to do is to get your mind into the language, and this doesn't happen unless you're sort of exposed to it through both eye and ear at the same time. And of course, these days, travel and the internet, in terms of reading, is also incredible. I mean, if you're interested, if you're at a level whereby you can read newspapers somewhat in one or another country. Today, you can go to the internet and open it up, and you can get the daily paper right there. You don't wait 3 weeks to get it at home or something.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's a big advantage.